Don't let her touch anything. The words cut through the tension-soaked air like a blade. Everyone in the grand foyer of the Hawthorne estate turned toward my sister, Lauren, her sharp voice rising above the hum of wealthy murmurs and the soft shuffle of heels on old oak floors. I froze mid-step. My fingers still hovered above the edge of an antique chest. The camera slung over my shoulder, hanging like a label I hadn't asked for.
Just here to take pictures, right?
Before we begin, drop a comment and tell us what would you do in this situation? Be honest, tell me in the comments below. We read every comment. Let's begin. Lauren gave me a glare laced with disgust. She's just the family photographer. She's not even part of this anymore. Not since Mom died. The silence that followed felt suffocating. Eyes shifted toward me. Some amused, some sympathetic, some just waiting for the drama to explode. I slowly lowered my hand and took a step back. I didn't say a word. I didn't need to. I could feel the storm coming. Behind me, the auctioneer cleared his throat awkwardly. Is Miss Hawthorne? That's Mrs. I corrected, gently but firmly, keeping my eyes on my sister. Mrs. Keller, the auctioneer acknowledged, blinking fast.
Right.
Sorry. Lauren was already waving over a security guard, that smug smile plastered across her glossy face. Can you make sure she doesn't touch anything else? She's not authorized to. I believe she is, the auctioneer interrupted, glancing down at his clipboard. In fact, he stepped down from the platform, walked straight toward me, and handed me something small, solid, and heavy. A gavel. I've just been informed, he said, voice carrying across the hushed room, that the estate legally belongs to her. Gasps rippled through the crowd like waves breaking on stone. Lauren's face turned ghost white. Her mouth opened, then closed. Her husband grabbed her wrist, trying to calm her as whispers began spreading through the air like wildfire. I held the gavel in my hand, my heartbeat pounding in my ears, but my expression stayed calm. Ice cold. Then came the sound of heavy doors opening. I turned, and there he was. Dressed in a tailored charcoal suit, my husband, Noah Keller, stepped into the room, his presence a wall of quiet power. In his hand, a sleek silver keyring. Without a word, he walked up beside me, took my hand, and held up the keys. She owns the house, he said quietly.
She owns the land.
She owns everything. The room
fell. Silent.
Lauren looked like someone had just poured ice water down her back. I don't understand, she stammered, stepping forward, mascara already trembling. Oh, I'm sure you don't, I replied softly. Because this wasn't about just the house. This was about the 20 years of being treated like the outsider, the disappointment, the invisible one with a useless art degree, while Lauren played perfect daughter and golden heir. And they thought I'd always stay that way. I gave the gavel one slow, thoughtful glance. And then I raised it. Let the auction begin, I said, but this time, it was my rules. The silence after I struck the gavel felt louder than the impact itself. One sharp knock, and everything shifted. The room that once mocked me now stood frozen, watching, unsure of what to do with the fact that I was no longer the family's quiet shadow, but the storm they never saw coming. The auctioneer stammered through the opening lot, but the tension wasn't about antique dressers or oil paintings. It was about me. My sister Lauren stood at the edge of the platform, frozen, clinging to her own version of reality. This has to be a mistake, she whispered to her husband Greg, her voice trembling now, low and frantic. She was disowned. She wasn't even in the will. Greg leaned in, muttering, then explain why the auctioneer just handed her the gavel and not you. She didn't have an answer. But I did. I stepped forward and spoke loud enough for everyone to hear. I know you're all confused. I would be too if I hadn't lived through the past year in silence, while this family carved up a future they thought was theirs. Lauren flinched. Her husband's jaw tightened. I turned to the auctioneer. Next lot, please. He obeyed. But even as bids started being called, eyes remained on me. Especially Lauren's. I could feel the sting of her stare, as if she were trying to slice through me with nothing but her pride. But she couldn't hurt me now. Not after what they did. Not after how they treated me the night Mom died. That night played like a ghost at the edge of my vision. Lauren standing over our mother's body, already on the phone with a lawyer. Dad gone. Just vanished. Greg whispering to Lauren, "Make sure she signs nothing." They'd shoved me out so fast I barely had time to grieve. "You were never responsible enough," Lauren had said. "You'd just sell everything to take pictures of street kids and paint broken windows." She was right about one thing: I did leave. But she didn't know where I went. And she definitely didn't know who I married. Noah stood silently at my side, his hand resting on the small of my back like quiet armor. He hadn't said another word since entering the room, but he didn't have to. Just being there was power. A man no one knew much about, until now. "Excuse me," a voice called from the back. A man in a blue tie raised a hand. "Can we ask how she owns this place?" Because I was told Lauren Hawthorne was the executor of the estate. The room stirred again. I stepped down from the platform, heels steady on the old marble. My mother changed her, 6 months before she died. She did it in secret because she finally saw the truth. And the updated documents were notarized and sealed by her attorney, Mr. Sutton. I glanced toward the side hallway. Who should be arriving any minute? Lauren's mouth fell open. "No," she whispered. "You're lying. That's impossible." "You know what's impossible?" I cut in. Trusting your family your whole life, and only realizing on your mother's deathbed that you were never going to be one of them. Eyes turned back to Lauren now. Because I wasn't yelling. She was the one unraveling. "You're just a photographer," she snapped, her voice climbing. "You were never smart enough to run this house. You couldn't even keep a real job. You ran off to Brooklyn with that nobody." "He's the CEO of Keller Investments," someone whispered.
Gasps again.
Lauren's breath hitched. Greg's hands went to his head. "You married him?" "I didn't marry for money," I said, stepping up beside Noah. "I married someone who treated me like I mattered. Something this family never did." The heavy front doors creaked open once more. And there he was. Mr. Sutton. Gray-haired.
Polished.
Holding a thick envelope in one hand and a briefcase in the other. He didn't look at Lauren. He walked straight up to me and handed me the file. "Miss Keller," he nodded. "Or should I say, Mrs. Hawthorne Keller. As per your mother's final instructions, everything, including the estate, assets, accounts, and holdings, were placed in your name under the condition you accept the responsibilities before the public auction." He turned to the crowd. "Which she has." I lifted the envelope in my hand, not out of pride, but quiet satisfaction. "She wanted me to have this?" Lauren cried out. "She would never." "She did," Mr. Sutton said simply. "And she left you a letter. I believe it's in the file." Lauren's lips trembled. "I didn't read it," I said. "I didn't need to. But maybe you do." I handed her the sealed letter. She snatched it with shaking hands. As she opened it and began reading, her eyes filled, not with anger, but disbelief. Then shame. Then silence. Lauren clutched the letter in both hands, her knuckles pale. I watched her lips move silently as she read Mom's handwriting, those neat, elegant loops that used to leave notes in my lunchbox as a kid. Notes Lauren never cared about. Now, they were shaking her world. Her breath hitched, and suddenly the mask cracked. "I didn't know," she whispered. She never told me she felt that way. I didn't say anything. I didn't need to. That letter was never meant for me. It was meant to hit where it hurt. Because Lauren hadn't just taken the spotlight all our lives. She'd stepped on me to do it. When I won an art competition at 16, she told everyone I'd cheated. When I got into NYU, she laughed in front of the whole family and said, "Hope your paintbrush feeds you." When I dropped out to care for Mom after her first stroke, no one noticed. Except Mom. And now the woman Lauren thought she'd inherited everything from had left it all to me. Mr. Sutton stepped forward again, clicking open his briefcase with a soft metallic snap. "There's one more matter," he said, pulling out a small black box. Lauren looked up, eyes red. What now? He handed it to me. I opened it. Inside was Mom's locket. The one Lauren always claimed she'd inherit. The one she told everyone Mom promised her, despite never being around to hear it. I stared at it for a long second, then clicked it shut. I'm not keeping it, I said, holding it out to her. Her eyes widened. You're what? I don't need it, I said. I have what Mom gave me.
Peace.
She hesitated, then snatched the box with shaking hands, clutching it like it could anchor her sinking pride. Behind her, Greg stepped forward. What does this mean for us legally? He asked Mr. Sutton, voice tight. Lauren was in charge of planning this auction. She handled everything. Mr. Sutton gave a firm nod. Which is why we'll be conducting a full audit. Greg paled. Lauren's expression broke completely. You're doing this to ruin us, she hissed. You always hated me for being stronger. For winning. I tilted my head slightly. You didn't win. You just held the mic longer. The auctioneer nervously cleared his throat. Should we proceed? Yes, I said. We're moving forward. But not like this. I turned to the crowd. The estate isn't being sold off piece by piece anymore. My mother built this home with history and soul. It's not for your investment portfolios. Murmurs. Lauren's mouth fell open again. You're stopping the auction? Yes. You can't. I just did. The room stirred with electricity. I scanned the crowd and landed on one face near the back, an older woman in a pale blue coat, with gentle eyes and her hand over her mouth. She smiled. She used to clean this estate when Lauren was in high school. I remembered how Lauren used to mock her accent. I'll be converting part of this home into a non-profit art space, I said, raising my voice. For women like my mom. Women who were overlooked. Women who needed a place to breathe. A ripple of surprised claps followed. Lauren looked stunned. You're using the estate for charity? Better than using it for your Instagram reels. Noah chuckled quietly beside me. Greg muttered something about calling a lawyer and Lauren spun on him. This was supposed to be ours, Greg. Ours. He didn't answer. Because he knew. It was never hers. That night, the estate emptied out slowly. The guests vanished. The money-hungry bidders faded like shadows. Only Noah, Mr. Sutton, and I remained in the hall. You okay? Noah asked, rubbing my back gently. I nodded. I didn't think it would feel like this. I thought I'd be angrier. You're not angry?
No, I said.
I'm free. The next morning, the estate was quiet. The kind of quiet that comes after the storm. Not peace, but the eerie stillness that lets you hear everything that's been broken. The echo of slammed doors. The silence of unanswered calls. The hollow space where a relationship once lived. I stood by the tall bay window of the library, watching fog drift through the trees beyond the garden. My fingers still brushed the gavel in my hand. It hadn't left my side since yesterday. You really going through with the nonprofit? Noah asked, walking in with 2 mugs of coffee, still in his dress shirt from last night. I took mine with a nod. Yeah, it's what Mom wanted. She wanted you to have peace. I will, I said. After this last thing. Noah raised a brow. I want to talk to her. Alone. Lauren. I nodded. She's spiraling. And I want her to know something before she blames the whole world. Noah hesitated. You don't owe her anything.
No.
But maybe I owe myself the closure. Lauren didn't answer my first 2 calls. Or the third. But she finally picked up on the fourth, her voice ragged and groggy.
What?
I want to meet. Just us. A pause. Then, where? Mom's greenhouse. 10 minutes.
Click.
The greenhouse was still covered in dust and leaves. Forgotten by everyone except the ivy that had started climbing in through the cracks. She arrived in oversized sunglasses, no makeup, and fury in her bones. I'm not here to say thank you, she snapped. Good, I replied. I'm not here for that. She crossed her arms. Then what? You were right. I didn't fight back growing up. I let you win. Her mouth twitched, but she stayed silent. I let you humiliate me at dinners. I let you mock every painting I ever made. I let you throw me out of this house after Mom's first stroke. I didn't throw you out. You told me I was just a burden who didn't understand business. And then you made Greg lock the study so I couldn't even access her medical bills. Lauren looked away, jaw clenched. But you know what? I continued. I don't want your apology. I want you to see what you did. She dropped her arms. You think you're the only one who suffered? I blinked. You think I wanted all this? She whispered. The pressure, the expectations, the deals Dad made in my name? I was 16 when they decided I'd be the heir. And do you know what they told me? What? Keep her quiet. Don't let her make noise. Don't let her ruin the image. I stared at her. They put me in charge because I was willing to do what you weren't, she snapped. Smiling when I wanted to scream. Lying when I wanted to run. Then why didn't you leave? Because I needed to matter. We stood there in silence, two women raised under the same roof and burned by two different kinds of fire. I never wanted the estate, I said softly. I just wanted to be treated like I wasn't disposable. Lauren looked down, blinking rapidly. I didn't know Mom left me a letter, she whispered. She didn't want to hurt you. She did anyway. I nodded. Then I pulled out a folded sheet of paper from my coat. She left you something else. She told me to give it to you when I was ready. Lauren took it with trembling hands. And for a moment, we were just sisters. No more gavel. No more auction. No more cameras. Just two broken reflections trying to find themselves. Later that afternoon, I walked the halls of the estate with Noah. You think she'll change? He asked. I don't know. That's her choice. You're kinder than most. I smiled slightly. Not kinder. Just done carrying other people's poison. Greg didn't expect me at his office. He barely looked up when his assistant buzzed me in. His expression shifted the second he saw me. Noah sent you? He asked, trying to play it cool. No, I said, shutting the door behind me. I came on my own. He stood slowly, like a man who knew the floor beneath him was about to give out. If this is about the audit, I have lawyers. You should have thought about lawyers before you started moving estate funds into your side account. I cut in. His jaw tightened. You thought I wouldn't find out? I asked calmly. You underestimated me like Lauren did. I was protecting her, he snapped. She deserved a life beyond this crumbling estate. You were stealing. Silence. I stepped forward. You'll return every cent quietly, or I go public. And I promise you, Noah's legal team is a lot less forgiving than I am. His lips parted, then shut again. He knew he was cornered. And Lauren, he asked after a long pause. She's not your shield anymore. That evening, I stood in the main hall of the Hawthorne estate. The lights were warm. The space was different now, alive. Local artists and young girls walked through the gallery space where cold family portraits used to hang. The nonprofit had launched. The estate finally had purpose. And I finally had peace. Lauren didn't come to the opening, but she sent flowers. No note, just lilies. I didn't need words. Some chapters end quietly.